Tonight, I am here to discuss some serious club news involving Enzo Fernandez, as well as some interesting transfer news. Now, apologies for such a late upload. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you would have known that I've had internet issues for like the past 2 days, and I've only recently just got back full internet access right now. After the reports I'm about to discuss tonight, I kind of wish that my internet wasn't working today because boy, we have some conversations to have. So my friends, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, and most importantly, do not forget to watch today's massive video discussing top 5 players you must watch out for this preseason. Hope you enjoy, and let's get straight into things. So I don't want to waste any time with this. I want to go straight into discussing what the hell is going on with Enzo Fernandez, because wow, I have to say this. What an idiot. What a fool. What a moron. I have to say it. I'm not going to mince my words with that. What a moron. I mean, I saw that video a few days back after they lifted the Copa America. I saw Enzo flashing his pearly whites, looking very happy singing that song, looking very confident, posting it on his own live stream as well too. I was just thinking to myself, I know that footballers aren't necessarily the smartest guys, but my lord, you know, Enzo is just literally taking the icing on the cake right now, because rightfully, this has escalated and become a much more serious topic of conversation. At the moment, we've learned that the French Football Federation now have filed a legal complaint against Argentina for their racist and discriminatory remarks targeted towards Mbappe and also French players as well too. Now, this stupid racist song first originated from the World Cup final. There was this real toxic type of, you know, football bands rivalry, whatever you want to call it, against Mbappe and France at the time, because Argentina was set to play them in the World Cup final. Now, on screen, you can read the translations for what exactly Enzo was singing on that coach after lifting the Copa America. You're seeing it on screen. There's no real defense behind this whatsoever. I think it's a crazy situation, and rightfully, the French contingency in our club, they're upset, they're angry, but most importantly, they're going to feel let down by their teammate, someone that they've shared the dressing room with, someone they've probably shared good bonds with as well too, friendships as well, and to sing a song like that, you know, it's such a disrespect. Like, in my head, I keep thinking of this Drewski meme where, you guys know the meme, when he's saying, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? Because if you're Fofana, if you're Gusto, if you're Badia Chill, you'll be thinking to yourself, do you really believe what you're saying? Is that how you view me? Do you think that I'm not a real French citizen because I come from African heritage? Is that how you really see it? It's got really real now for Enzo. These are the allegations. These are the initial thoughts you're going to have when you're seeing your teammate being the ringleader, singing these racist, disgusting chants, insult to your teammates, to have the confidence to post that without even thinking of the backlash. I think that's what I find absolutely baffling. But the thing is, people speak their truths, right? Regardless, we've learned that Wesley Fofana, obviously, he posted Enzo Fernandez singing that song, saying this is uninhibited racism. Lots of like disappointed emoji faces. And since then, we've learned that many French players, including Gusto, Disasi, Sarr, Fofana, etc., they have unfollowed Enzo Fernandez on social media now. Now, some may think to themselves, Nini, are these guys not taking things a bit too personal right now? I would have to say, who are you to be telling them how to feel about being insulted like this by their teammates? I mean, the whole song is complete racism. And I find it so ironic personally that Argentinians will kind of sing this song in jest when most of them have come from European countries like Italy, like Spain. Like, we know the history of Argentina and the confidence and ignorance in which this song was happily sung. It is reflective of a lot of the dark and deeper issues in Argentinian society. As we know, I think there's less than 1% of the population in Argentina is black. And my perception of interpreting the lyrics essentially means, listen, you know, we're from the country we're born in. You guys aren't. We are worthy winners. You guys aren't. We're actually from the country we represent because of our skin color, and you guys aren't. Listen, I'm not going to mince my words with this, but equally at the same time, do I think that Enzo Fernandez, deep in his heart, is a racist? I don't think so. I think in football, in this sport in general, there's a lot of this like toxic, masculine type of nonsense that's kind of always been within the sport. I mean, I remember lots of racist songs. I remember lots of anti-Semitic songs growing up. I think the racist song used towards Adebayo, his dad watches elephants, his mum is a door. At the time, people would just brush it off as it being mean-spirited bands. And I'd imagine that the response from Enzo and the Argentinian players, because Enzo Fernandez wasn't the only one by himself parading on that coach singing that song. We didn't see everyone else singing that, but I heard a lot of man, and it sounded very, very loud, and these men were jumping and dancing to the tune of that song, yeah? I'd imagine Enzo's woken up today thinking, what? I can't believe this has escalated that much. I'm not racist. This is getting out of hand. And it will be brushed off as it being like toxic, mean-spirited football bands, because there's a lot of that within this sport. But I think right now, Enzo Fernandez has lost the trust of a lot of his teammates. I think this will be a big thing for Reece James now, our club captain, to have to get a hold of and have these team meetings, have these conversations, and I'm sure he will happily do that. And now it's going to be up to Enzo Fernandez to grovel, to earn the trust, but most importantly, the respect back from his teammates, because you've shared a dressing room with Benoit, with Wesley, with Axel, with Christo, with a lot of these guys throughout the seasons, yeah, and for you to betray them, for you to be the ringleader, and a song like that is naturally going to offend your teammates at your club, I think that's kind of outrageous, and I think that is incredibly, incredibly insensitive. Personally, I've not really understood this whole thing in Argentina of constantly targeting the French squad. I don't know how it originated. I don't care how it originated. It's wrong. And it's been wrong since the World Cup in Qatar. And personally, I don't even think this is the first time they've sung this. I could have remembered, like, they also sung the song during Qatar as well. I know it'll be easy to kind of reduce the impact of this. Enzo, he's still young, he's still a kid, he's got a lot of growing up to do. Obviously he does. Is he a kid? No, he's a family man. He has 2 children. Like, he's at that level in life. That doesn't take away from the fact that he's a young man. And I do believe that when you're a young person, you are going to be prone to making these stupid mistakes. But do I believe that in his heart he has like dark, malicious thoughts and intentions and he is a racist? No. I mean, I've seen him with Caicedo, I've seen him with Nico, but all of that will kind of mean nothing at the moment because he has betrayed his teammates. He has lost their faith, and now we see the reaction to this. You'd imagine the club, as we already know, it's been reported, they will be having serious conversations with Enzo. Could it lead to maybe him having his contract terminated? I don't think it will escalate that far, but let's say hypothetically this thing did get even crazier. I'd imagine there'd be certain things in his contract where if he comes in dispute with the football club, maybe things will work out against him. And now, most importantly, we have to see how his teammates accept him back again. That is the key thing. Hopefully things can work out. Hopefully Enzo can do the groveling, he can apologize, he can make up for this. I like him to be an example that's made. If he has to take classes, if he has to do community work, if he has to do something that's, a lot more serious than just having his agent come out on behalf of the player and, give out some ChatGPT apology. I guess he's only been in Europe for a little bit of time, right? He was in Portugal for 6 months before we signed him. His whole life has been in Argentina. And you can imagine that with some of the type of darker aspects of Argentinian society, especially when it comes to nationalism and race, like for myself, me talking, not speaking on behalf of anyone, I can see how this stuff kind of trickles down throughout the social fabric and it becomes quite normalized. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that people have this hate for other people's skin color deep in their heart, but it can come out in the form of insensitivity, ignorance, stupidity. I mean, this type of sentiment isn't exclusive to Argentina. I mean, we're seeing the whole world becoming a lot more right-wing, far right, and a lot more nationalist everywhere now. These are the sentimental points and values they latched onto. So I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit disappointing now for even myself. One of my favorite players, Enzo Fernandez, is now a ringleader for this type of sentiment. Enzo Fernandez isn't the first Argentinian player to have accusations of this type of racial insensitivity. Many players from that region. There's so many stories, you can literally Google for yourselves. You will find them. So it's clearly a pressing issue that must be addressed. I'm sure the club will handle this very well, as the club always does. But as I keep stressing, it now comes down to how the squad accepts Enzo again. If they don't accept him, if they're that put off, if they're that upset by his actions, it could force the club to have to sell him. And I know some may be like, oh, but Nini, we can't afford to sell Enzo regardless of what he did because we've spent so much money on him. Maybe that's the case, but equally on the other hand, I remember when, we were in a similar situation, different circumstances, where we signed Romelu Lukaku for over 100 million, and then after falling out with the manager that isn't even at this football club anymore, he was out the door just like that the following season. So I don't personally think finances would stop the club from moving him on if it escalated to that position. But I'd imagine right now, Enzo would be feeling pretty bad about his actions, letting down his teammates, letting down his family, and most importantly, letting down himself. He can come back from this. He'll have to be humble, he'll have to be accepting, he'll have to hear his teammates, and he'll have to make sure that he never does this again. So there are my thoughts on the situation surrounding Enzo Fernandez. Hopefully this situation can get resolved in the best way that satisfies your Wesleys, your Malos, your Christos, and the Chelsea squad. Because if I was a teammate and I saw one of my teammates singing about one of my national team members and myself singing a song that proudly, I can't imagine how they would have felt having to see that themselves. I think that would have been very hurtful. And if we think about being in their shoes and not about how we feel about that, I'm sure a lot of us can come to that same conclusion. So they're my thoughts on the story. You guys share yours as well, of course. I'm sure I'm going to read some very good thoughts and opinions from you all, as I always do. And now let me end things with a final story, a little bit more upbeat. And I guess am I even really surprised by this news? If anything, for myself, what took us so long to be linked with this kid? Because today it's been confirmed by Romano, not broken by Romano, but it's confirmed that we have shown genuine interest in Gremio's superstar talent in Gabriel Mec. He's just turned 16. He turned 16 on the 11th of April, only a few months back. And currently he's one of the brightest prospects in Brazilian football. And yes, I feels like every single news video I'm discussing another Brazilian superstar. It seems like there's a bit of a golden generation now coming out from the region. Finally, it seems they're moving on from those physical freak players and going back to their Joga Bonito best. And it does feel like Gabriel Mec could be the next in line when it comes to following an example set before by players like, and I know it might sound crazy, Ronaldinho, Robinho, Neymar, etc. Anyway, before I continue on, let's understand the news reports first. Now, this story first came out in Brazil by Radio Mortal, and they announced that Mec's agent, who happens to be Neymar's father, was partially recorded holding talks with two Chelsea representatives over transfer conditions for Gabriel Mec. Now, we are showing genuine interest in this 5-star, 6-star skiller, and we're moving aggressively right now to beat our competition, because back in the winter time, Arsenal tried to make attempts to sign Mec on a free deal. That didn't go anywhere. Big clubs are looking to get their hands on Mec quite early. Now, he's only just turned 16, so if we do agree a deal, we won't see him here for at least the next 2 years. We're also learning that Gremio wants the player to sign a contract renewal first before entertaining or engaging in any transfer talks. They don't want to lose him on a free, and actually if they did, they could then throw out accusations of the player being tapped up, and we won't do anything that puts the club in any forms of dispute. So to move on, it's been rumoured though that Mec may make history at Gremio by signing the biggest transfer release clause in their club history. Now, as I said, he's only just turned 16, but Gremio are confident, obviously, he will sign a deal. And they've already agreed to licensing and image exploitation agreements. And this was agreed upon already in the winter period. And what's interesting about this agreement that was reached was that this is basically identical to what Santos had agreed upon with Neymar before he signed his first pro deal. So it makes a lot of sense now. You're seeing the synergy that Neymar's dad, who was managing Gabriel Mec, will use the same strategies business-wise for the player. And I think that really sums up the hype, the promise, and why Gabriel Mec is an exciting team prospect in Brazil. So currently that is all the news surrounding the player. As I said, if you're a football nerd, if you like to follow like the up and coming youth talents of the world, you would have heard about Gabriel Mec already. And I think it's easy to see why, because he is literally like a callback to the Brazilian talents that all made us fall in love with the game. You know, there's a reason why I wanted to show his clips throughout the video as I talk about him, because these are the type of skills that are uncoachable. You can't teach this. This is a natural gift. This is a natural talent. It's good to know that he also does perform at youth levels. He has been rising up the youth ranks, though, playing for older, youth teams. And once he signs that deal, it won't be long until he's introduced to Gremio's first team. At 16, he's like 173 centimeters, which is a pretty good height for someone that young. And it tells you that as he gets older, he will probably grow a bit more. He'll get a bit taller, a bit faster, a bit stronger. And honestly, his development will be very exciting to see. I mean, as I said, this is just a natural footballing gift. You know, cuts in from that right side, 2-foot dribbling, skills for days. He has a sixth sense for when to use the particular skill against his opponent. Honestly, I think for like certain like skillful talents like this, words don't even do justice, to be honest with you. So let's see what happens. But my lord, this football club, man. Like there was a time back when we had like your Hazards and Drogbas and Co's where, listen, if I could have got my hands on some of Brazil's best and brightest talents from their formative years as teens, I would have been all over this move. And, you know, from growing up being that type of football fan, now living in a reality where we're actually pulling off these moves and making it happen, even at the expense of investing into our first team, it's hard for me to be like, I'm against this move. I'm sorry. We've just lost Ngoma to Liverpool, and you won't see Mec potentially for the next 2 years, maybe even longer, because I'd imagine he might even get like a move to like Strasbourg for the first year or two. But for a talent this immense and exciting, I feel kind of bad for already envisioning Mec on the left hand side, Kendry Paz in the middle, and Esteval Willian on the right hand side. I mean, you know, if this is a video game, if things work out how they're supposed to do, you're looking at one of the next potentially great attacking trios in Europe. But you know, sometimes it's a lot easier said than done, right? So let's see what happens, but I'd imagine we're going to get even more reports coming out surrounding Gabriel Mec soon. So my friends, that is the video today. Again, apologies for such a late upload. Thank God I have the internet. Yeah, crazy situation with why I even lost it to begin with, but it's back now. I'm back now, and I'm here to make more videos for all of you during this pre-season. So I hope you guys enjoy. I'm NEYMAR FC, this is BlueLionsTV. See you all soon. Cool.